Hey everybody, Jon David had a pretty good night last night, and then today he has had a decent day. He's had some withdrawals, needed some more PRNs, but he went up on his feeds, and actually he's now at a point on his feeds where he can cut his TPN and lipids in half, which is his IV nutrients, which is what he's been getting since June 12th. And so they had been giving him a certain amount, but now that he has started feeding so much, he's half of his feed goals with the breast milk. So they've cut his TPN and lipids in half. He was kind of double dosing there for a little bit because he was still getting the full TPN and lipids plus breast milk, but now he's getting half and half. And actually he's a little bit past half on the breast milk now. So he'll go back to kind of double dipping a little bit again between breast milk and TPN and lipids until they cut it again. So it just kind of gives him a way to kind of, catch up a little bit. Because he's not going to catch up in the short amount of time that he's double dipping, but it does give him additional calories during this time. It also gives him additional fluid, but the good news there is that his kidneys are happy, the numbers are looking good, and that he's peeing off a lot of what he's doing, so he's hitting all of his fluid goals. He's actually exceeding some of them on certain days. Like right now, he's currently negative, and his goal is 0 to 100 in milliliters, and so he's beating it, and he did the same thing yesterday. I think he ended up just slightly negative, and again his goal yesterday was 0 to 100 positive, so he's doing really well from that standpoint. His kidneys are good, so again, that's a praise. Also, almost forgot to put this in here, but the highlight of my day was that I got to hold Jon David for the first time in quite a while. However, it wasn't the greatest hold. He did fine for about 30 minutes, and after that he got agitated, irritated, again going through withdrawals. Heart rate got to like 190, MAPS got up, so we ended it there, put him back in bed, gave him a PRN and fentanyl, and then he settled back down. But it was nice to hold him, and he did enjoy it for a while. He was snoozing, he enjoyed the snuggles, but then he got agitated. He also today found out that we're going to have another CT scan tomorrow for his head to try and figure out if the brain bleed is stable, which it should be. The last one looked like it was, so then they're going to use that as the baseline for this one to make sure that it is either shrinking and or not growing, so it's just stable. They're also going to do a follow-up CTA while he's there because it's the same machine, and do an angiogram with his heart to see if the aorta is narrowing anymore. And we're going to be praying that it is not, that it is holding out. But that is the plan for tomorrow. As for today, again, like I said, he had some withdrawals, had some extra PRNs, but for the most part, had a pretty good day. Weaned on his vent by 2, so he went from 18/6 to 16/6 and is doing well. He passed his ERT last night, which is the first one he's passed in like 3 weeks. So all in all, good night, pretty good day. Hunter, on the other hand, had a rough night. We left him with Aunt Amanda, and then he called crying. And so Mallory went out there and spent the night with him. And so that was kind of a fix for that. And then he went out and had a lot of fun today at the pool, swimming around, feeding fish. So he had himself a fun day. And then one of the things that I wanted to talk about on here for a minute that came up while we were home for the wedding this weekend was somebody talked about how just kind of juxtaposed or how opposite it was to see Hunter and Jon David in these videos, and just kind of how different their lives are, specifically at the same age, because a lot of the people that we were at the wedding with have seen Hunter grow up and are now seeing Jon David through videos, because not a lot of people have been able to see him because he's been here his whole life. And so they were just talking about how different kind of their paths are. And yes, they are. And that's actually kind of one of the reasons why we have the videos, is to kind of show this, because again, otherwise people wouldn't really know what he goes through here, what we go through. And I think that does a lot to bring some awareness to this and to understand kind of what these kiddos go through. And I think that is a big step in understanding why I have that prayer request every night of praying for the kiddos and praying for their families, because this is incredibly hard on all of them and on all of the family, because they care about these kids. And so one of the other things that I think probably gets lost in this, I don't say it enough, but pray for the medical team, because a lot of them care deeply about these kids and this patient population, and they have to deal with this, and they see this more so than any of us. Whenever we get done, we get to go home. We'll take Jon David home. We get to be done from this. We will come back for outpatient and things like that, but they work in here week in, week out, and see this all the time. So if you would keep them in your prayers, because again, that is a tough job. But that being said, sorry I rambled. I just felt like I should address that because somebody had brought it up, and I did want to say that yes, it is very drastically different, but also one of the things that I was hoping that would happen with documenting all of this is to show to other families who've asked, like, how do you do it with more than one kid? You try to do the best you can by both of them. You know, we spend as much time as we can here with Jon David, but we also try and have events with Hunter and spend time with Hunter that would be, you know, quote unquote normal, like taking him fishing the other night. It just helps, I think, and what I'm hoping it does is help kind of show how to navigate this, and we don't really know. We're just doing the best we can. But hopefully it just inspires somebody else to be like, okay, yes, we can do this. It is daunting. It is scary. I mean, it was for Mallory and I. But we have had a phenomenal support system who've stepped up and helped us through all of this. So, that being said, if y'all would pray for these 3 things. 1, that his heart will continue to do well, that we will get good news from that CTA tomorrow, that his aorta is holding out. 2, that the brain bleed will be stable, and that his lungs will continue to do well so that he can continue passing his ERTs and getting stronger. And then 3, for all the kiddos and families up here battling congenital heart defects, because again, this is all incredibly difficult. These are reconstructive heart surgeries. These are not acquired diseases later on in life. And I think that sometimes that's the misconception. One of the things that was told to us quite a few times, not by medical professionals, but like kind of out and about, when we said that we were going to have a child who needed heart surgery, was, oh, he's going to need a surgery, he's going to be fine. It's not quite the same, because structurally their heart's different. It's not like somebody who's 75 who goes and has heart surgery because of an acquired condition, like my grandfather, who had to have stents put in for, you know, his heart condition because it was just his vascular system and like the buildup of the things in his system where he needed stents. It is truly, all of these kiddos have something structurally with their heart that is born different, and then trying to fix that can often lead to other complications, as y'all seen with Jon David. Like, there's a lot of that goes into it. It's not as simple as just going in and doing one thing and that being that. It is every now and again when things go textbook and perfect, but for the most part, it seems from our observations here that there is a little more to it than that. And also it just leads to lifelong monitoring, because you're going to have follow-ups for outpatient things like catheterizations and possibly more heart surgeries. So again, going back to that 3rd prayer request, if you would pray for the kiddos and their families, because this is an incredibly tough journey and an incredibly long one, because it will be for the rest of these kiddos' lives. But that's all I've got for y'all today. Hope y'all continue to choose Hope daily, and y'all have a good night. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow. And Jon David, tell everybody bye-bye.